only thing that we send over digitally is the oxycodone. Everything else she prints me.
Okay. So you can take it when you need it.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
So I just got my Adderall filled a couple of days ago, and it took me 10 pharmacies this time, which was a lot better. I think the most it took at one point in time was it took me, I think, 30 pharmacies once. I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of going to 30 pharmacies.
I call about 30 pharmacies a week, and I can't imagine doing it in person.
It is not very fun. It's sort of just like, but luckily it's in New York, and they're all kind of like clustered, you know. All right, 1 second here. So where do you live?
I live in Greenpoint, and I used to live in Northwest Harlem.
That's cool. Where do you live in Greenpoint?
I live on Freeman and Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
North, right by St. Vito's.
Yeah. My friends own that bar.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's the leather jacket.
Yeah, it's the metal bar. I'm glad it's still open. It
is wild. There's so many things about that place that are wild. Mostly that it still exists, and
that's what I was kind of amazed by. I mean, the whatchamacallit, the condos over there are just crazy.
It's really something. It's interesting to see it happen. It's my favorite thing about living there is like every day, like clockwork at 7 p.m. You've got this tromp of like boys and girls in tight black pants and black band t-shirts. And they just like, and it's literally there walking from the G train down the hill. And then from like sometime between 10 and 11, they're walking back.
Yeah, it's, it's like, that neighborhood's awesome. I lived there for 20 years.
Yeah,
it's like...
It's really... When I moved to New York about 10 years ago, and when I first moved here, we were uptown, and I visited there once, like, my first year living there. I was like, I have to move here. This is the place. It was,
we got, like, we found a great apartment. It had, like, a jacuzzi tub, and it was like one of those things where you find it, and you're just like...
This is New York City magic.
Yeah, like, I couldn't believe it, and I remember they just called, like, my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, look, like, I know you're going to be mad, but I just, like, sort of just told him that we were going to take it. But it was, it's a great neighborhood. Mm-hmm. The Polish are great. Mm-hmm. Sorry, 1 second. I'm just, like, trying to
find your thing.
Trying to find the pharmacy. I was telling somebody, I mean, when we lived in Williamsburg first, before there was before there was anything in Williamsburg, there was one car service on Bedford Avenue and a restaurant called Bliss Cafe. Sorry, just 1 second.
That's all right. I'm now just writing your note while you do that.
Great. All right, I think I found it. All right, y'all ready?
Let's get this. Where do you live, by the way?
Oh, they've got me in the Bronx now.
Hit me.
It is. Do you want the phone number? Is that how
That
we do
would
it?
be the easiest.
Okay, cool. It's Sorry, they're making this like really exciting. It is 917 369 8688.
I've got CVS on 53rd and Lex.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, I'll send it there. We're in the Bronx.
Off 176th Street. It's cool. It's they're building condos out there, which is like
176 and what?
Converse
or
I have no idea.
what train? Sorry, I lived and worked up there also.
The 6th train?
Okay, yeah, I know.
Or the 4 train, sorry. 4 train.
Okay. The elevated one, you go down the stairs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's like, it sort of reminds me of Bushwick
Before.
10 years ago, 20 years ago, you know? It's like,
No, absolutely. I don't think it's going to do the same thing that Bushwick did.
no, it's like, it's whatchamacallit, it's, I don't know, it seems like real estate holdings, to be honest.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Some of it, yeah. Especially you go further south by the ballpark.
Yeah.
Like, as you go further south down there, there's that definitely.
The waterfront and whatnot, yeah.
I'm going to get those prescriptions. Give me a second.
Cool, thank you.
Right.
Awesome.
Anything else we need to talk about today?
No, yeah, when do I see you next?
4 weeks.
Great.
So questions though that I ask everyone who's your age. Do you need STI testing?
No.
And then let me just make sure you're not due for anything. Do you want a flu shot or a COVID shot today?
No.
And that looks like all you're due for. Let me just make sure. Yep.
Cool.
Cool.
So on the, well, it couldn't be the 11th because that's a Sunday.
No, it'll be exactly 4 weeks. Which will be, and let me just make sure that I've got availability on that day.
Okay.
So it'll be 1, 2, 3, and 8th.
Okay.
8th of November.
And what time?
Let's make it first appointment 1:20.
Sure.
All right, and then I think just again thinking further forward, what we'll probably do is for the appointment after that, we'll set you up for a telephone visit
Okay.
while you're out in LA,
Okay.
just to touch base about where you're at and what's going on.
Okay, cool. Sounds
I've
good.
had some patients who move to another state where for a month or two while they're getting settled, I'm still kind of like doing stuff for them.
Yeah, it's having been back and forth for the last 20 years.
You know what you're doing.
It's not
Again,
like
I believe you, and yet sometimes things go wrong.
yeah, it's I'm pretty resilient. I'm sorry, I totally oh no, maybe you did print it out. I was going to say the multivitamin.
It's on there.
Oh, great. Propecia, the miracle drug. Was that designed specifically for hair loss?
No, it's designed for BPH.
No, that is.
So it helps people shrink their prostate when they can't, like old guys.
Go to the bathroom a lot.
Mm-hmm. And so the way it works is by blocking testosterone, because what we know is testosterone, when people have too much testosterone, that's part of the reason they lose their hair. It's not even too much, it's just testosterone does it. And so it blocks testosterone.
Or just genetics.
Well, I mean, yeah. And so the other thing, I don't know if you've ever tried the sprays or the gels.
No, it's just sort of like one of those things where it's like, it's just always been Propecia, which is like...
Just to offer you something that does work, if you ever do try it, the thing to know is that what it does do is the first few weeks of treatment or months of treatment, you'll initially notice a loss of hair when people freak out. But actually that means it's working and you're actually going to gain hair in the long run, but it does take a while.
It's have you read about AI developing new drugs, and testing and whatnot. So it's like, yeah,
It's a wild world we live in. And I
yeah,
think we really are. It's very unclear what direction we're going. What we know, the joke that I heard today that I love is AI can do a lot of things, but it can't kill Sarah Connor, and that's good enough for me.
Oh, yeah, the whole Terminator thing. I mean, it's just the thing with AI right now is it's like not self-aware. It's not really AI.
No, it's not really AI.
It's just sort of like a mathematical equation, you know. When it becomes self-aware, then you'll have Sarah Connor problems.
This is also the reason I don't have any robots in my house. Just in case it becomes self-aware and I am at least a person who didn't have robots.
But did you ever watch Silicon Valley?
No.
Oh, it's so good.
Is it really?
Oh, it's amazing. It's such a great show. But Mike Strike did just Beavis and Butthead, right?
Oh, really? Oh, I trust that.
It's really good. But at one point in time, they have like an AI like server or whatever that's like doing things for them, and it crashes, but it ends up backing itself up on a bunch of refrigerators, smart refrigerators. And then the refrigerators have like an LCD screen or LED or whatever on the front of them, and it ends up displaying a bunch of dicks on it. But that's Silicon Valley.
No, it's so funny because that came out when I was living in the Bay. And I was living in the Bay right as, for like a few years before it went crazy.
Yeah.
And then,
What years were there?
so I moved there. Hi! He's here already. Here's him as well. Appreciate you. That's for you.
Oh, I don't need that. What's going on?
I moved there in 2006. And then I was there until 2012 or 2013. And it was just like, it was wild because it was like 2006, 7, 8 was like normal.
Yeah.
And then like 2009, it just like went like truly bonkers.
I went to school in San Francisco, and
Oh, no shit.
I lived there during the first dot-com.
The way people talk
It
about
was
that,
fucking nuts.
like the amount of money that was around and the parties and then it collapsing and everything being like a Wild West.
It was just that, like, I mean, we were students at the time, something like that. So there was a 1% vacancy rate. So the apartment, like basically if you saw an apartment, you had to take it. And the apartment that I found, or the one that we got to finally see, had a window that faced a brick wall. And it was on Post and Leavenworth, and it was at the bottom of
You still my heart. I know exactly where.
It was awesome. They were the transvestite hookers.
You were right by what's it called?
Yeah, one block down, and like there was a Thai restaurant, and then you had Nob Hill the other way.
Yep.
So it was like we were like the intersection. But it was when the .com crashed. There was all this furniture out in front of the apartment building that said .com failure, and then I moved from an apartment that had a window that faced a brick wall into a Victorian building on Fell Street with giant bay windows. I love San Francisco.
I love it so much. It's really crazy what it's like these days, but like I miss it.
Yeah,
it was so good.
It's cool there. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes like stoner culture kind of like gets a bit much for me sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just like,
trust me, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, the first time I moved, like I lived in LA for a while, like, and I thought it was gonna be permanent, and I went to get a coffee, and I was standing there for about 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and the guy behind the counter was like, "Hey man, can I help you with something?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, I ordered a coffee like 20 minutes ago." And he was like, "No way!" I moved back to New York the next day. I couldn't do it. I was just like, "This is just too much for me." But now that I'm older, I've become a bit more patient with things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, San Francisco's fun, man. It's like I go back and visit quite often. We were standing in a Mission outside a bar, And it was sort of right when you lived there too, and this giant black bus drove by, and I was like, what the fuck
Oh
is
yeah,
that
those
thing?
evil, the evil Google buses.
And he was like, it's the Google bus. And I was like, what do you mean it's the Google bus? And he's like, they transport people. Like,
It's
you
so
know.
crazy that like you go now and you hear these conversations and they're just so well. Now it actually has gotten really crazy since the pandemic. Like the
I was like emptied out, right?
Well, it's this weird thing of like no one's on the streets because the people that live there are these hyper wealthy people that bought,
Yeah.
or these very poor people, and then there's a handful of people like who had a rent stabilized apartment or whatever.
Yeah,
But it's just like the Tenderloin has gotten. I lived and worked in the Tenderloin for a while. I worked in the Tenderloin for years. Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like it is. Like I used to do needle exchange shit and like work in that world, and like it was crazy back then. And you go and visit now, and it's just like so many more. So much. Everything's turned up.
Well, we would always joke about the Tenderloin because you would always see the tourists walking down Market Street. And the big cameras that go on the thing, and we were just like, they go by the Civic Center, and you wanted to just be like, dude, like.
Just no.
No,
Like you take one wrong turn and people freak out.
Yeah, it's
All right, I got a patient here. I'm sorry. I gotta kick you out.
Thank you.
You got your meds. You sure you don't want this?
Make sure that made it to CVS.
Oh yeah. Can you wait in the waiting room and just
Sure.
ask tell the front desk to message me if it didn't work?
I can check the app right now.
Okay.
Sorry, I got caught up in San Francisco.
No, I could. This is the problem. Is I could talk, like it's so rare to meet a person from California
out
here, and like
one last thing. I lived on Treasure Island for a while. When
that's
we were the first people to live on Treasure Island. It was me and like 50 other students. It was an abandoned island. There was just like 50 of us. It was
You had read that stupid bus.
Yes, it was. It was the craziest thing ever. Sorry, 1 second. Come on. Why did you leave San Francisco, if you don't mind me asking?
Got a job out here.
That's cool.
Finished school and got my first doctor job.
It's
and it was time. It was time. Like it had the culture had changed so much. I lived there for like 7 years, and I had no friends there anymore. Like everyone had left. And
I always thought it was one of those places that you lived, moved away from, and then came back to.
I mean, that would be if this really gets bombed out. That would be my dream.
Yeah, it's
Oh, one tiny thing. Your pulse was really high when you first came in. Can I just check it real quick?
Sure.
Good.
Cool. It's probably from like hobbling around. Sorry, it's just taking forever. Well, I guess we'll just have to trust that it got there.
Just shoot. How's this sound? You got my chart, right?
I do. Yeah.
So let me send you a message.
Okay.
You just respond to the message. It'll go right back to me.
Okay.
Let me know if it doesn't go through.
Yeah, usually I'm able to just check it right away. I don't know what the.
You'll be able to respond directly to me, so you won't have to wait for anything.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, and if by hook or by crook you find out that it didn't go through, just come on back. Let me know.
Oh, it just loaded.
And your appointment is in 4 weeks exactly.
Yeah.
It'll show up on my chart in a few hours.
On the 8th at 1:20, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Yep. Order it's in the process.
There you go.
You are awesome.
Hey, good to meet you. I'll see you in a month.
Sounds good, bud. Have fun.
Take care.
You want this open?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Thank you very much, man.
You're welcome, sir. Jose Torres.